The COD community has a lot of emotions, and that's totally normal for a passionate community, but sometimes there's an aspect of a COD game that becomes subject of a particularly high level of anger and vitriol, justified or not. What's up, everybody? Jimmy or Chaos. Welcome to the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about what I think are the 20 most hated maps in COD history. I want you to keep in mind these are not necessarily the 20 worst maps. A lot of them are pretty bad. These are simply the 20 maps that have gotten the most hate from the community throughout the years for one reason or another. So you let me know in the comments which COD map you hated the most. Drop a like on the video. And at number 20, Jungle Flooded in Black Ops 4. I still don't understand it. I do not understand why Treyarch decided to take one of the most beloved maps from the original Black Ops game and turn it into one of the worst by flooding half of it and forcing you to swim around with your gun in your pocket. The flow on Jungle Flooded was atrocious. It was one of the worst ways to experience such an amazing map. Now, naturally, it was one of the most hated maps in the game. That's a good way to kick off today's list. At number 19, Siege and Ghosts. Now, this map took place in an abandoned mining complex, and even though it was designed to be one of the faster-paced maps in Ghost, that's not saying a lot, still one of the most hated. I mean, even though it was more close quarters than other gigantic maps in Ghost, it didn't feel balanced, and it certainly wasn't fun to play on. This map was just a mess all the way around, and you were constantly getting killed by people you couldn't have possibly seen coming. Frankly, I would have rather played on one of the bigger, slower-paced maps because then I could have some idea of where people were coming from and how I was supposed to counter them in the moment. Before we move on, guys, we launched the Chaos Shorts YouTube channel. The link is at the top of the description, and a way for you to submit your clips for whatever game you have. Epic moments, fails, funny, it doesn't matter. If you want to get showcased across the Chaos Network, that's all the platforms, be sure to submit your clips. At number 18, Azir Cave in Modern Warfare the Reboot. Frankly, this should have been one of the better maps in the game, but the poor lighting and the spawn logic kept it from ever seeing its true potential. Azir Cave was a pretty straightforward map. Had you fighting inside the cave, as well as the outskirts next to the cave. Once you crossed into the interior, there were so many dark corners and annoying head glitches, it was basically impossible to know what the heck was going on, and there was always a chance that the spawn engine was going to throw you in some random direction and completely mess up whatever understanding you had of the situation. So even though it wasn't the worst map in the game, certainly was one of the most hated, likely because we all knew the potential it had if it had better lighting and more logical spawn logic. At number 17, Derail in Modern Warfare 2, the original. Now, most of us remember the classic MW2 maps fondly. But Derail, I mean, it's been an outlier to me. It's one of the biggest 6v6 maps in COD history, and it's absolutely impossible to get any kind of game flow. Snowy map, two-story complex in the middle, whole bunch of nothingness surrounding that. You either had to camp in the middle structure, or you had to figure out a way to stay alive on the outskirts without getting shot at from 20 different directions. It was hated in 2009. It was hated when it was brought back in 2023, and I just don't think the community is ever going to change their mind. I know there's going to be one or two comments on people saying it was amazing, but it wasn't. At number 16, Freefall and Ghosts. Ghost had a few redeeming maps despite the gameplay being generally slow-paced, but Freefall was such a massive point of negativity that Infinity Ward probably would have benefited from deleting it and replacing it with a classic Modern Warfare Trilogy remake. The layout, it was decent, but that constant shaking and horrible lighting meant it was virtually impossible to see what was going on. Plus, this map was a pre-order bonus, so you actually had to pay extra for it, which nobody felt good about doing. If you paid extra to get this map, you probably felt ripped off at the time, and even after it was made free for everyone, nobody wanted to play on it. It's gotten a ton of hate over the years, and it was all deserved. If you're going to make us play on a lame map, at least let us see what the heck is going on, and don't give us a map that could actually make us sick. At number 15, Outpost in Modern Warfare 3, the original. Raise your hand and be honest if you actually remember this map. Outpost was one of the snowy maps from the original game, and even though we like to look back at this game with rose-tinted goggles, this map was trash. Easily one of the most hated in the game. Very large, and the weather effects were so heavy that it made it really difficult to see more than 20 feet in front of you, which that was extra annoying since most of the engagement should have been at longer ranges. Classic Modern Warfare 3 had a ton of great maps, but Outpost, it was the subject of a lot of hate. A lot of hate and ridicule back in the day, and it was justified. At number 14, Babylon in Black Ops 6. I actually liked Babylon at first. I mean, because of how crazy it was. But the more I played on it, the more I realized why everyone else hated it. Babylon is a very small map for standard 6v6. It's an interesting square shape to it, which could have made it fun in that arena-style vibe with how fast the movement is in Black Ops 6 and how dumb the spawns can be. But this map, very quickly devolves into complete chaos where only people having fun are the people spamming 50 buttons a second. And I'm not even sure why they would enjoy the map either. I mean, apologies here for my positivity towards this map early in the Black Ops 6 life cycle. I was wrong. My benefit of the doubt goggles have officially been removed, and I can see the map for what it is. At number 13, Grazna Raid in Modern Warfare the Reboot. If this map was added to the Ground War playlist, I think it would have been actually kind of fun. But since it was in the 6v6 playlist, it's one of the most hated maps in the game. I mean, for a lot of people, Grazna was the perfect embodiment of everything wrong with Modern Warfare 2019's map design. It was cluttered, there was no flow, there was way too many windows and doors, the spawns made no sense despite how much open space there actually was, and I'm sure all of you saw the Crossing the Road in Modern Warfare meme that was recorded here and it went super viral, but just in case you forgot, I'm going to throw it on the screen so we can all remember exactly why the community hated this map so much. Number 12, Miami and Black Ops Cold War. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know how much I dislike this map, and I was not alone, I don't think. Despite having the vibes and the amazing visuals, it wasn't a good map for 6v6, and when Black Ops Cold War first came out, it was only maps in the rotation, which made us hate it even more because we were basically forced to play on it. Way too big, way too dark, way too complicated. After a whole year of the campy, slow-paced gameplay of Modern Warfare 2019, Black Ops Cold War was a breath of fresh air. But whenever Miami showed up in rotation, we were immediately reminded of all the things we hated about the previous game. The shrunken down strike version of this map is actually kind of fun, but the base version, still one of the most hated maps in franchise history. And it's for good reason. At number 11, Aftermath and Black Ops 2. Now, Black Ops 2 is another one of those games that's known for having amazing fan favorite maps, and that makes us forget some of the bad ones. But Aftermath, it's the definition of a bad map, and despite it being one of the best Call of Duty games of all time, that could not save it from being absolutely destroyed on every single forum and YouTube comment section back in the day. Aftermath is just a bad map all the way around. It feels more like a campaign level than a multiplayer map because of how convoluted that map layout is and how easy it was to get trapped in your spawn by somebody just camping the second story of that center building or standing off to the side of the street and shooting you as you become visible. Can you hear the frustration in my voice? It's all coming back. It's channeling. Black Ops 2 had a ton of redeeming qualities, so it's not like Aftermath destroyed the game's reputation as a whole or anything, but this map sucked. Definitely one of the most hated maps in the entire franchise. At number 10, Black Gold in Modern Warfare 2 2022. I still have no idea how Infinity Ward thought this map was a good idea for standard 6v6. Dark map basically required you to turn on your night vision goggles to see anything until you got in the inside sections where you had to turn off your goggles in order to see anything, until you go back outside and had to turn your night vision goggles back on in order to see anything. The whole time, there was a few people camping in every corner and shooting you as soon as they saw you because you were too busy messing with your freaking goggles to shoot back. Modern Warfare 2 2022, it's probably one of the most hated games in the entire franchise, and yet Black Gold still managed to stand out for being extra terrible. At number 9, Red Card in Black Ops 6. Now, I was pretty positive about the BO6 maps when the game came out, but this is one that I didn't like from day one. Hasn't gotten any better. Red Card is set in and around a massive sports stadium. We've been there before. Pretty cool idea for a map, but the sheer size and the terrible spawns made it one of the most boring and slow-paced experiences in the entire Black Ops sub-series. Black Ops 6 had super fast movement, lots of crazy ways to traverse the map, but the Red Card, it was so painfully slow and campy, it made that whole experience feel like a total contradiction to what this game was supposed to be about. Every COD game is allowed to have a bad map or two, but Red Card is really bad. People have been ripping it apart ever since day one, and they're probably not going to stop. At number 8, let's go back. Downturn in Modern Warfare 3, the original. This is probably one of the most hated maps in Modern Warfare history. It took place in New York after World War III broke out, and even though it had some impressive visuals and architecture for the time and the layout and flow, it was bad. I'm willing to bet this is the single least played map in maybe any Modern Warfare game because absolutely everybody would vote against it whenever it popped up in the pregame lobby. There's just too many hiding spots, way too many routes to every different spot on the map. Couldn't you hide in a bus on this map? Flow was non-existent. It's actually pretty fun in Spec Ops survival, but in standard multiplayer, no. At number 7, now we get into some good ones here. Arsenal Sandstorm, Black Ops 4. Takes a lot to hate a map hate a map so much to be straight up deleted from the game. That's what happened. Weather variant of the map arsenal had you fighting in the middle of, yes, a massive sandstorm that made the outside sections of the map virtually unplayable because you literally couldn't see more than 10 feet in front of you, which meant everyone was constantly trying to get inside the center building, which meant whichever team got control of the center building automatically won. They would just camp the doors, kill you as soon as you walked in. Treyarch added this map as free DLC for everyone, but it was so hated by the community, a few months later, they literally deleted it from the game. They deleted a free map. You can't even play it in private matches anymore. They literally just Thanos snapped it out of the game because the community hated it that much. And I just want to know who approved it, who greenlit it and thumbs up and said, you know what? They're going to like this. And number 6, Piccadilly and Modern Warfare the reboot. I made an entire video about how this was the worst map in Call of Duty history, and I stand by that 100%. Out of all the maps in Modern Warfare, this is probably one that people hated the most because of how ridiculous it was. Yes, looked amazing. Also had some of the worst flow in COD history, and the only way for you to have fun on it was if you were the one exploiting the spawns before anyone else got to them. This map also seems to have a weirdly high number of defenders, which I'll never understand. But if we're just ranking maps based on the amount of hate they've gotten, it's here. Because even if you're one of the people dedicated to defending it, you can't deny the sheer amount of hate it got over the years. I mean, not even the developers wanted to play on this map. We arrive at the top 5. Sandstorm Border Crossing in Modern Warfare 2 2022. What a name. I'm still amazed it took Infinity Ward this long to fix the map. This long. Narrow battlefield map full of cars that were all explosive. So the first minute or two of every match was just random fireworks shows, explosions, totally unavoidable. And once all the cars had exploded, you were left with a terrible map with a narrow design that was awful for basically every game mode. Infinity Ward eventually patched the map so the cars wouldn't explode, and that kind of fixed things. But it's still a horrible experience because of the layout. Modern Warfare 2 is one of the most hated games in COD history. I already said that once in this video. And Sandstorm Border Crossing was one of the major points of criticism that people had. Even if you didn't play Modern Warfare 2, you knew how much people hated this map. At number 5 today is Sandstorm Border Crossing in Modern Warfare 2 2022. I'm still amazed it took Infinity Ward this long to fix the map. Long, narrow battlefield full of cars, all explosive. So the first minute or two of every match, just random fireworks, explosions that were totally unavoidable. And once all the cars exploded, you were left with a terrible map. It had narrow design, awful for basically every game mode. Infinity Ward eventually patched the map so the cars wouldn't explode, and that kind of fixed things, but it's still a horrible experience because of the layout. Modern Warfare 2 is one of the most hated games in COD history. We've said that a few times. Sandstorm Border Crossing, what a name, was one of the major points of criticism that people had for it. Even if you didn't play Modern Warfare 2, you knew how much people hated this map. At number 4, Stonehaven and Ghost. Now, Ghost had so many hated maps, but none of them were hated like Stonehaven. This was a behemoth of a map. Really cool setting. I think there was like a hobbit hut in there. Still pretty cool, but the sheer size of it made it a nightmare to play on. There was so much open space, and if you got killed in the middle of your run, if you got killed in the middle of it, you had to run back to all the action. You had to do it over and over again because the map was seemingly endless and incapable of spawning you closer where you wanted to be. Maybe the spawns would have been better if the map wasn't so huge, but there's nothing we can do now. For a lot of people, Stonehaven was a perfect example of why Ghost was terrible for 6v6 gameplay, and it was one of the most hated maps. If this had been 10v10 or 12v12, we wouldn't be talking about it. At number 3, Gustaf Cannon in COD World War II. You know a map is hated when the developers start posting memes about it on Twitter. Gustaf was one of the biggest 6v6 maps in COD World War II. Absolutely, hands down, the most hated map in the game. The whole thing was built around a massive cannon in the middle of the map, and it was the centerpiece. Run up to the cannon, get killed by whoever was there first. Spawn out of one of the corners of the map, at which point you would get sniped by whoever was on top of the cannon. And then you would just do it over and over. The only way to have fun here was if you were the one on top of the cannon. It was completely unbalanced, totally destroyed any possible game flow that could have been established. At number 2, Shipment. It's one of the most controversial maps since COD 4, but the reputation has only gotten worse over the years since the developers keep changing the layout for some reason. The shipments of COD 4 and COD World War II had a relatively uncontroversial layout, but starting with Modern Warfare 2019, Shipment has gotten more and more ridiculous, and it's now seen as total brain rot kind of map where people just try to get as much XP as humanly possible by running around spamming bullets in every direction with no strategy or tactics. Shipment has always been ridiculous, but at least back in COD 4 and COD World War II, the spawns were predictable. The layout was balanced so you could actually have intense, fair matches. I know the matches were ridiculous and explosive, but they were kind of fair. What the heck is fair about any version of Shipment post Modern Warfare 2019? Also doesn't help that Shipment has popped up in almost every COD game since 2019, so the community, they're tired of it. I think it's time to give Shipment a rest. And at number 1 today, Nuke Town. Another small map, controversial upon release, but its reputation just continues to get worse. But unlike Shipment, The layout has remained virtually unchanged since 2010. I don't think the hate for Nuke Town has to do with the map itself, rather the aggressive way that Treyarch has been throwing it at us since the Black Ops franchise began. Every single Black Ops game has a version of Nuke Town. It's even shown up in the spin-off games, COD Mobile, COD Online, rest in peace. But people, they're tired of it. The map needs to be retired for a few years because despite its popularity, it's become one of the most hated toxic maps in COD history because of how heavily spammed it is. There you have it, my friends. Let me know one hated map I didn't mention, and be sure to go subscribe to the Chaos Shorts channel. If you have any cool clips, get them over there. We're going to showcase you. I'll see you soon.